Well, hi, everyone. I'm Victor Lund. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm the CEO of RE Technology, and I have the opportunity to welcome a couple esteemed guests to us today. We're going to be talking about recruitment, and we always like to bring the brightest and the best to these webinars so that you guys can learn some good things to grow your business. 2021 is going to be an interesting. 2020 and 2021 is going to be an interesting time in real estate. A lot of recruiting has always been belly to belly, hand to hand combat for a lot of brokerages today. And certainly people are reimagining how those things are going to be done, and they're relying upon systems as important as ever. But I know that, the key ingredient to great recruiting has always been the people part of it. And, certainly when you have to meet people, through a Zoom or, with distance or other safe route, becomes pretty difficult. But nevertheless, if you're recruiting correctly, you'll be able to foster lots of opportunities for growth in your company. And I'd just like to begin by introducing a dear friend of mine. We've been friends for a very long time, Bondilyn Jolly. Bondilyn, can you just share a little bit about not just 365 agency, but all of the companies that you're involved with, and then talk about the role that 365 plays in all of that? Just to kind of kick us off, and then maybe if you'd like, you can introduce your friend Denis.
Yeah, Victor, thank you so much, everybody. I'm so happy to be here today with all of you. Thank you for joining us. So I've been inside of the real estate sector for about 10 years now. I was the founder and CEO of eMerge, which is a marketing automation platform. And we came out of the governmental sector, and the small business sector, came into real estate, and really just had a blast, absolutely, over the past 10 years. And our company was actually acquired into the Elm Street Technology family of products and services a few years ago. And so eMerge is still a standalone marketing automation platform. It's also being integrated into Elm Street's Elevate platform. And I serve as the VP of marketing over all of Elm Street Technology. And one of the divisions of our company that we created is 365 Agency, which is our full service creative and digital marketing and advertising agency. And over the years, I have done a lot of consulting with everyone from, tech companies in and out of the real estate space, large international franchises, all the way down to little independent mom and pop shops. And so 365 was really an opportunity for me to take all of amazing team of marketing minds and business development minds and bring them together under one, umbrella where we can go out and really service our customers. And so Denis Pepin is actually, he is our VP of business development. He just actually joined us at the start of this year, but Denis and I have worked together professionally for good 10 years now, Denis, across all of your various endeavors. And so Denis has worked in everything from business consulting and development inside of large franchise brands to small independents. He's a broker owner himself of United Real Estate in Huntington Beach, which has been a client of ours for many years in many respects. And I really wanted Denis to be here today, not just as my VP of Business Development, but wearing his United Real Estate hat, his broker hat, and speak from his point of view and his 30 years of, experience in the real estate sector, recruiting and retaining amazing agents. So welcome, Denis.
Thank you very much.
Denis, just maybe to kick us off here, I'm sure that we have a nice audience from around the country.
Sure.
And they see a place like Huntington Beach, California, show up on their screen here, and I'm sure that there's a lot of interest and intrigue about how the market is in Huntington Beach and where that is in position to Los Angeles, and what the kind of culture is there. That what's the business environment that you guys operate in there? I think it's pretty interesting.
Well, first of all, thanks very much for having me, Victor and Bondilyn. I really do appreciate it. And Victor, I do appreciate the comment of being categorized as one of the brightest and the best. I don't think I've ever had somebody actually say that to me in the past. Having said that, Huntington Beach, California, beautiful, approximately about 50 miles, well, actually about 40 miles south of Los Angeles. Today we have unusual weather. We're actually currently now sitting at 79 degrees. Sorry to those that are not in that type of weather. the environment here, we, like a lot of the rest of the country, for individuals that I've spoken to across the United States and in Canada, everybody's busy, and so are we. You know, we have a tremendous opportunity here this year with regards to mortgage rates that are at all-time lows. You know, people out there do need our assistance, particularly those that find themselves in situations of forbearance and what have you. And that's what we do as real estate agents and brokers out there. And our business is quite brisk down here. We have a lot of opportunity coming up this year. We're excited for ourselves and everybody else that's involved in this industry.
Well, thank you for that. And we really are honored to have you, Denis. You know, I think a lot of the brokers that are on today's call can understand that, you know, you're in a heightened sense of life in a way, because you have so many transactions going on. The way in which you're processing these transactions is very different than customary. Right. But you guys, as I always like to talk about people, process, systems. And, you know, I know that you guys have deployed a great people program in your community. And I think the foundational success of everything that you're going to be talking about here is the role of the broker in the community and the relationships that you have with other agents. Those really lay the foundation for all of these other magical things that we're going to learn from Bondilyn to happen. So with that intro, let's jump right in.
Awesome. So Victor, recruitment is a really big initiative with us. I've specialized in franchise sales and agent adoption and agent retention modeling for, you know, many years now. And it's really become an area of expertise. And we work with, like I said, with a lot of different organizations. And so right now is this time we're heading into 2021, you know, recruiting is a very hot topic, as it always should be. And so what Denis and I really thought, and the reason we really wanted to be here speaking with everybody today, is we wanted to kind of share a little bit of the approach that we take from the 365 side of things when we come in and work inside of an organization on your recruitment initiatives. Because a lot of times I think brokers tend to silo their recruitment and retention concepts over here, and they don't integrate it into part of their overarching business strategies and business models. And so that's what we really want to talk about today, and sort of introduce everybody to some of the conversations that if you wanted to work with us or consult with us, what we would be looking at, the kinds of questions we would be asking you, the types of due diligence that we would, you know, be doing with you. And so this first slide is actually this is my money slide right here, because these are kind of 5 key areas of a brokerage's business that we feel are imperative, that need to work together and be very well in balance. And it's very easy for some of this to kind of fall to the side and things to get out of balance very quickly. And then we'll have an organization come to us and they're frustrated. They're, you know, their financial goals are not in place. They're not succeeding in recruitment and in retention. And a lot of times it's not necessarily tied to their recruitment and retention program directly, but it could be, you know, tied to staffing issues. They lack the organizational or office management staff that's going to help onboard and support their agents. It could be a disconnect in the brand and the marketing. You know, the value proposition that they're putting out inside of the recruitment messaging isn't being delivered once an agent enters that house. You know, it could be just that they really made terrible errors in judgment in setting goals and budgets and looking, you know, doing financial analysis in their market, or they lack the systems and processes to not only facilitate and support their recruitment and retention programs, but also to provide systems and processes and technology and marketing to their incoming agents. So we really look at all these, you know, 5 parts and pieces. And I know, Denis, this is something that you have your fingers on literally every single day, every single month, every single year inside of your organization. So would you like to expand?
Yeah, well, it's really, you know, it really is a gap approach. So it's like you said, it's more of a investigative, you know, detailed look into the company or the agent, you know, into that particular business to try to determine, you know, what's missing, what's currently being used, it might not being used efficiently, you know, that type of thing. It's like you said, it's really it's not just an off-the-shelf type of program. It really is more of a consultative approach to ensuring that we're looking at all aspects of the actual business. And that's kind of the model that my business partner and I follow with our organization. And we're constantly looking at not only the business as a whole, but we're also looking at our agents. And because, you know, our agents are really operating a business within a business, just as some of you are out there in the audience joining us today. So yeah, I mean, it's really investigative from that particular initial standpoint, and then we can kind of determine how we help from there.
And Victor, I know yesterday in our prep conversations, I was telling you a story about we have a large brokerage in Miami that we just went to contract with, and they have 1,000 agents in their organization, but their 2021 goals are to double that agent count. They want 2,000 across 6 different offices.
Oh, by when?
By the end of 2021. But they're having, so in the situation they're having, the recruiting is fantastic, right? But their churn rate, they have a 50% churn rate on new agents within 30 days. They have a serious problem, and their executive team and their management team cannot figure it out. They cannot figure it out. And so our team is coming in, and we have this very extensive like Q&A process across all of these 5 sections that you see in the screen right now, that we're coming in and we're doing a tremendous amount of due diligence over a 30-day time period with them to dig into all, these facets of their business and really put together a very comprehensive report to them of what is working, what isn't working, where we feel those gaps or those problem areas are, and then like a course correction action plan that would take place over 60 days for them.
Yeah.
And so
it's really sales. It's a sales job. And, one of the things that I've always been inspired by the approach that you guys take to this, Bondilyn, is that you kind of combine recruitment and retention into like similar buckets, so that the company always has to be reinforcing their value to their existing agents, as Denis was articulating a minute ago. But you share that value and that vision out to attract other agents who are not only going to come to your company and be productive, but they're going to grow and foster in that environment that you created for them, and they'll be great contributors to the overall culture of the brokerage. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how you unpack this. I know that a lot of brokers on the call today can identify with areas of their business or of their recruiting and retention that need some polishing. So let's kind of just go through some of these fundamentals to understand.
Yeah. And our approach, I think, too, is, we want so many times brokers, they want to recruit agents because they're like, what's in it for me, right? They're looking at, their personal business growth. They're looking at their end game, whatever that is. And they're looking at these agents thinking, what can this agent do for me, right? And I mean, how many brokers out there, that come to us and they say, I only want the top 1% in my market. I always want, well, everybody wants the top producers, right? And, but that's not always the best action plan for you too, right? And so we try to shift, the entire concept and say, okay, it's not about what can this agent do for me, it's what can you do for the agent, right? Just the way that you have your consumer audience and those clients, your agent is basically, they are your client.
Yeah.
Right. And we want our brokers to think of their agents as somebody like, how can I serve this agent? How can I help them be successful? In return, how will that help me be successful moving forward?
Yeah, and a top producing agent is going to have a different requirement for support and services than somebody that's actually just beginning, right? So you have to take that in consideration.
Yeah, and our brokers have a lot of different strengths and weaknesses. And so these are some of the questions. And I know that a recording of this will be made available to everyone. Don't feel like you have to grab screenshots or anything. We also have a fully comprehensive recruitment guide that includes all of this that we're going to make available to everybody at the end of this webinar. So don't feel like you have to take a lot of notes. We're going to provide everything for you at the end. But this is some of the due diligence questions that we ask brokers. And this is some tough self-reflection. Because a lot of times there's a lot of ego involved, right? And people don't want to admit their strengths and their weaknesses or ask for help where they have, weaknesses. And so this is part of the due diligence that we do with our brokers. And then when we understand where you are strong, where you are weak, we want to look at the rest of your organizational administrative staff. Do you have people that are going to offset and, and help balance out your strengths and weaknesses. You know, are you leveraging technology inside of the brokerage for your staff, for your agents? You know, the value proposition that you have for your prospective agents, are you actually delivering on that? And is it competitively attractive inside of your space? And then also sometimes it's an issue of reputation, right? Sometimes there's some damage control that has to be done. And so we really have to be very transparent, and we need our brokers to be very transparent with us so that we can understand what is going on so that we can help course correct.
So Dennis, you know, in Huntington Beach, you have a lot of different competing business models among brokerages there. And when it comes to recruiting and retention of agents, the business model of the brokerage really dictates a lot of the process that you're going to incorporate into your business. So I know that you guys have a pretty healthy 100% commission market there, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, we have a couple other you know, relatively strong competitors that are in that market sector, and then of course there's I don't know how many independents that are following the norm. I mean, you know, I'm a true believer that you know, from a commission standpoint, that the whole industry has really changed its dynamics in that respect, and it's no longer you know, how much more can we save you on your commission check. It is, you know, exactly what Bondilyn was just saying, is it's not what you can do for the brokers, what the brokers can do for you. How do we, you know, approach this by enabling an environment where we're actually going to take responsibility as a broker and as a brokerage to assist that particular agent to increase their productivity. So while the commission structures are relatively very competitive nowadays, and they're going to remain so, and possibly, hopefully, God forbid, not get worse, but from a broker owner standpoint. But nonetheless, you know, the idea here is, you know, we are in the business on this side at 365 of helping you build your business. And how we do that is again, the investigative approach, determining what the current course is, and then providing you a structured analysis of what we find.
So this program is effective. You know, there's certainly brokerage models in the industry today where they're transactional based. So we don't take any commission, but we charge you a transaction fee on all your trades. Right. There are other, you know, Remax is probably the greatest model that we all are probably familiar with in terms of, you know, we take very little broker dollar off commission, but we do charge you fees, and those would include desk fees, technology fees, and other fees and things like that. And then you have all of these different hybrids and blends of these models, which all come together in traditional models. And then you have brokerages that really, you know, focus on a particular niche, like they might focus on luxury, or they might focus on, you know, we have a great brokerage client that we work with in Ohio that has an enormous amount of agents that come to them out of their real estate school, and they remargin their business that way. They bring people in who don't have a real estate license, they get them licensed, and they bring them in at great splits, and that's how they begin to evolve their career. And it's a very different program. So
every organization, I mean, it's so unique. And even within, using Remax as an example, you know, there's sort of this overarching, you know, structure that comes out of their corporate, but yet each individual franchise, and based on, you know, where they are and the goals of the broker owners there, I mean, the models get shifted around inside of that business model too, you know? And so everybody is really unique. And I think that's why there's not really a one size fits all kind of model, you know, in terms of recruitment. And so we always have to approach it, you know, just your business is unique, you're unique, your agents are unique, and we have to take a unique approach if we're really going to help you be successful. And so, you know, we've put together some different tips and things like that here. And this actually leads into our first one is, you know, a lot of times we're like, what is the end game, you know, for the broker owner? You know, what is your exit strategy? You know, where do you want your business to go? How do you want it to grow? How do you plan to get there? And how quickly do you want to get there? Because if we're working with a brokerage who wants to grow, you know, like the one I mentioned in Miami that wants to double agent counts in a 12-month period of time, it's an extremely aggressive growth process when it took them 5 years to hit that 1,000 agent mark in the first place, right? And so the strategy and approach that we have to take to help them build those agent counts is very different than somebody who says, you know what, I'm coming out of the gate, I'm starting new, and I've got, you know, a 5 to 10 year trajectory in which I want to reach these goals. So if we know what that end goal is, we can start to work backwards and sort of systematically figure out, you know, more incremental goals that are going to help us gain, you know, that ultimate goal for the broker.
Yeah, and it's going to definitely, you know, clarify your path to which how you move forward, and especially with regards to agent recruiting strategy, right? It's like you said, you know, determining what your goal is, what, you know, what it is, what's the outcome that I want in whatever, you know, incremental time frame, that having that information will actually dictate how your agent strategy for recruiting is concerned, is put in play.
The suggestion that we always share with brokers that they need to kind of, especially larger enterprise brokerages, which is where we spend a lot of our time, is we encourage them to divide their offices and their strategies up by what I call core markets and challenger markets.
Right.
A lot of times, you know, your strategy for a challenger market is going to be very different from your strategy in a core market relative to the goals that you're setting for your company. So, you know, a business that, you know, has 25 to 40% market share in city 1, but less than 5% market share in city 2 is going to react and behave and recruit and retain agents very differently in those markets.
Without a doubt, I agree.
Yeah, and of course, you know, knowing what that end goal is and how quickly we need to help you get there also leads into our next tip, which is setting goals and budgets, right? So we have this big pie in the sky kind of goal, but when we start to work backwards, like what is it going to take financially to help you get there? And, you know, because we work with some people who are bootstrapping, you know, coming right out of the gate, and we have some people that are backed by substantial investors, right? And so that also helps us, you know, you know, do a little bit of a reality check sometimes. And, you know, that can be a little painful because sometimes people's pie in the sky goals, that they don't have the budgets that are going to support them getting there with, you know, the business plan that they have in place. And so anyway.
Just 1 second, because I know I challenged you yesterday and we were talking about this, and I want to see how you arose to the challenge. So if I'm a real estate broker today and I want incremental growth in my business, how much should I budget plus or minus 20% per agent I want to add?
Yeah, so, you know, you did challenge us with that yesterday. Dennis and I actually talked about it for a while afterwards, because there's no, like I said, there's no one formula that fits everybody, right?
Well, what's the big bracket? I mean, give me the big.
What I recommend to businesses that I work with is that 10% of your top line revenue should go back into, you know, repeat marketing and sales initiatives within your organization. Now, how that gets split up and you know, appropriated into different divisions of your initiatives, that varies based on market, obviously the size of markets. You know, and you actually were asking me for like cost per acquisition on leads. And I'm like, well, my God, I've done everything from, you know, pay-per-click, like interrupting marketing at, you know, pulling in high quality converting agent leads, you know, at $9 a lead, all the way up to, you know, $200, you know, running programs inside of LinkedIn, up to recruiting, you know, call campaigns that you're investing upwards $800 to $1,000, right? But it's a very different kind of approach that we take. It's, you know, there's so many variables that are in there. So the cost per acquisition can change, but we also know, if we know what your goals are, what your agent counts are, the budgets that you have to work with, you know, we can say to you, okay, you know, this is what we recommend based on your budget. And this is typically statistically what we see as an average return on investment and a cost per acquisition.
Yeah, and the cost per acquisition is going to change, Victor. I mean, we talked about this the other day with regards to the brokerage itself. There are an awful lot of brokerages and brokers out there that I've spoken to all across the country that are individual. They're much smaller. They depend on their own production to help suffice the operational costs. So their cost of acquisition is going to be significantly different than somebody that actually has a much larger brokerage than might have. When we talked to one just last week that has 4 hired recruiters. So, that cost of acquisition is going to be significantly different from one to the next. So there's no real, say it's between, X dollars and X dollars. That's actually a real difficult one to actually come up with.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking just the other day, like there are brokerages who have who put the recruiting onus on the office manager, and
Right.
depending on the type of brokerage, some brokerages like Remax brokerages, they'll, it's an agent who becomes the office manager.
Right.
And their agreement with the broker is, I won't charge you any fees as long as you manage the office, lock and unlock the door, and make sure the transactions are clean. So, it's I guess it's, to your point, like to assimilate a program like this into a brokerage is going to be really about customization and evaluating the strengths and weaknesses of what the recruiting function is, who does it, how it's being done, how people are incentivized, what the market will bear, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nailed it on the head, Victor. Incentivizing. So if you have an office manager who is tasked with recruitment initiatives, and yet you are not financially incentivizing them to fulfill those recruitment initiatives, that's always going to be a red flag for me. I'm always going to be like, wait a second, let's figure out.
What's the incentive for them to actually go ahead and do it, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's just human nature, right? We have to find ways to incentivize and reward. So I'm a big one on that.
21 Hometown Realty that here in our town. They give a $1,000 bird dog fee to any agent or manager who brings a new agent in that closes one transaction. So it actually works pretty good.
One of the common programs I've heard is where the brokerage will actually provide a $100 bonus per transaction on the new agent that another agent brings in, right? So for an entire year.
Well,
you've done that because I ran that program with you.
Right, that's right. It's one of the programs we actually have in place at our brokerage, and it works. I mean, it helps bring in quality people as opposed to just somebody that's just going to hang their hat, right?
Well, I think it's safe to say that, and this is one of the things that really inspires me about your approach to this, is that the way in which you execute a good recruiting and retention program in your market is going to be a direct result of your business climate, who you're competing with,
Sure.
If it's a challenger market or a core market. There's a lot of variables to that, and it's just great to see that you guys have the flexibility to support so many of those things. And I think we're going to see some of those here today, right?
Yeah. And you actually talked about competition. So that's actually our next tip. And this is just crazy. I can't believe how many brokers come to us and they have not comparison shopped. And I'm like, okay, every agent that is actively out looking to hang their shingle somewhere else is comparison shopping, and you as a broker owner have to do the same thing. And so if you haven't done your due diligence and done your competitive analysis, our team can come in and that can actually be a part of the consulting process that we do with you. And so we really want to understand who are your major competitors in your space, what are their strengths and weaknesses, and how can we position your brand story, your value proposition to compete or speak directly to those that you're trying to capture. And this is, and we have a lot of success by paying attention to what our competitors are doing in a space. If we know, I have an example, big KW office in New Orleans several years ago, huge administrative fallout. A lot of their key administrative people left the organization, a lot of shakeup, hundreds and hundreds of agents questioning, where they wanted to go, what they wanted to do, whether they wanted to stay. And we had a client in that space. We went to them and we said, this is an opportunity. We need to go in, we need to recruit aggressively against these agents that have these questions, these fears, and these concerns right now. And this is what they're concerned about. This is your value proposition. And this is how we're going to come in and alleviate their fears. And it was an incredibly successful campaign. That brokerage, that KW office ended up losing, I think it was like 90 something agents over a course of about 60 to 90 days. And this particular office picked up almost half of them.
Wow.
So it was a really, really huge success for us. And it's just really having your finger on the pulse of what's going on, inside of individual markets as well as across entire corporations. And we're seeing a lot of acquisitions. We're seeing a lot of shakeup. We're seeing a lot of mergers, and it's interesting because these times, these unprecedented times, are really opportunities for independent brokerages and large scale, franchise organizations to really reevaluate their brand, redefine who they are and the value that they bring to their agent audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, acquisitions and mergers have been on the rise now for really strongly the last 2 years. And we're going to continue to see more. I mean, the easiest way for any brokerage to expand is either through a merger or an acquisition. Sometimes it's not necessarily a good idea, depending on who you're going to acquire or merge with. But it is an approach that is understandably important for you to understand and to recognize within your marketplace. And part of our due diligence is knowing that as well, right? So that becomes part of the equation when we're having our discussions in that respect.
And always being prepared. I think a lot of times when we talk about recruiting and retention, we talk about the agent, but we're not talking about teams.
Right.
And what's the difference between a team and an office? The line or differentiation between some of these teams, especially where you are, those mega teams that are in Los Angeles, who are doing billions in trades a year, it's hard to say they're not a brokerage, but they're not. But in terms of the way that you recruit and retain them, you can almost leverage all of the things that are in this strategy to prepare your company to do M&A work just as much as it is recruiting a team or recruiting an individual agent, for sure.
I agree with that 100%. And suffice to say that, if you ran your brokerage like it was a team, you'll probably be more successful than you are today. And I say that not as flippant, but I say it because it is the approach of understanding that you are there to actually help your people grow within the business, right? So regardless if they have their own brand or what have you, that's the important part. And that kind of leads me to your tip number 4, Bondilyn.
Yeah, so defining the brand. And we were actually, just talking about this when we look at our competitors inside of a market, really, how does your brand compare to your competitors? What is your North Star? And is that being appropriately conveyed, not just to your consumer audience, but internally within your administrative staff, within your agents and everyone? And, it's funny, I always start with these 3 questions when I sit down with a prospective client. Who are you, what do you do, and why do you matter? Right. And they seem like very simple questions, and they are not simple questions to answer, because when we really start having that conversation, it is very difficult sometimes for brokerages or any businesses to really truly define that North Star and encapsulate in very simple and easy to communicate ways who they are and what they do and why they matter. And so sometimes we have to kind of step way back and just kind of, redefine who the brand is and answer some of these core and fundamental questions so that we can build appropriately on it. Because once we've defined the brand, that helps us move to our next step, is then defining who your ideal agent is.
Absolutely.
And like I said, everybody comes to me and they're like, I want the top, 1% of all agents in my market, or I want people who are doing X amount in GCI and et cetera, et cetera. But then when we really start looking at your business model, how you compete inside of that space, the market opportunities there, you're telling me you want, 800 agents, but in your individual market, there's only 130 that are actually competing based on the criteria that you're giving me. We've got problems there. And so we like to do what we call create an agent avatar. So we have a whole series of Q&A and due diligence we do with our brokerages, where we really help them define truly who their ideal agent is. And for some people, they're fantastic people that come out of the C21 models. Denis, your partner, Rita, came out of a C21 model where she is very, very strong at taking new agents in, putting them into very, one-on-one mentorship programs and creating loyalty and alliance and helping them succeed. We have other brokerages, that it's a completely different model. They're very, very hands-off. The services, the technology, the support that they provide is, you know, more contingent on having a much higher level and performing level of agent. And so we really have to go in and do that due diligence with all of them.
Yeah, because you have to have that backup. You have to have that support and services to be able to provide to that type of agent that you want to attract. You know, it's like you said. I mean, it'd be great for all of us to have, you know, agents who produce, you know, multiple dozens of transactions per year. But the reality is that they actually require a different level of support and services than somebody that is just starting out in the business, right? So it's understanding your business at the same time as that will define who it is that the type of agent that best suits that business model.
Yeah,
One of
and
the greatest,
go ahead.
one of the greatest case studies around this is a story by a friend of mine, Mark McLaughlin. So Pacific Union was by far the most prestigious real estate company operating in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it was for many years. And then the owners of that company exited to GMAC. And GMAC took over that business, and they very quickly leveraged the brand of Pacific Union and moved the agent count from like 800 agents up to like 6,000 agents. And in doing so, they actually did not increase GCI at all. And, you know,
Overhead.
GMAC exited the business. Mark bought the company back. And, you know, he was inspired right out of the gate just to go back, and he literally grew the company by eliminating agents. So all of those people left. He got right back to the core of the agents. He went back to the principle at a Pacific Union. If you work at Pacific Union, it's by invitation only, and you've arrived in real estate if you get to wear that Pacific Union brand as a real estate agent. And he got back to that and scaled the company from $1 billion in trades to 18 billion and exited to Compass.
Yeah, Victor, you and I actually had this conversation the other day, and that is, you know, as broker owners in this business, you know, you need agents that actually produce. That's the key. Agents have to produce in order for us to actually make money. And
yeah, but I mean, the story there is that, you know, that was their style. That was what they could do effectively, and what they do effectively isn't necessarily what other people do effectively. So, you know, all of those agents that exited Pacific Union went to work for other firms around the area. And one of the interesting things that happened is as they started boiling into those rooms at Coldwell Banker and at Sotheby's and at Frank Howard Allen and at McGuire and all these other great San Francisco businesses, guess what the top producers wanted to do? They wanted to leave and go to Pacific.
Yeah. Top producers want to be with top producers.
Yeah.
Tying back to recruiting, I think it's, you know, something that is important to keep in mind too is that we all have access to the same data. Right. So every single recruiter and every company that in your market that is recruiting, we're all capturing the same data, the agent data and their GCI and their transaction volume and everything like that from the same data sources. So we all have it. So that top 1% has every single recruiter in town dialing into them. You know, and so it can be very, very challenging because and that's when we go back to like making sure that we have the systems and processes, that we have the value proposition, that you're really trying to attract an agent that aligns with the appropriate culture of your organization. Otherwise, you're going to end up like that company I'm talking, you know, working with down in Miami, who's experiencing this mass churn. And you know, and we have some cultural issues which are part of the issue, you know, problem of what we're working with them on.
Yeah, just quickly. So just teeing up on that, there's a brokerage company that I actually spoke to. They're actually up in Toronto, Canada, and their specialty is condominiums. So the type of agent they look for is the agents that specialize in condominiums, right? So that was their key identification of the type of agent that they wanted to join their company, which was a very smart move.
Exactly. So this next slide, Victor and Dennis, you guys know me. I'm like a super systems and processes geek.
Oh yeah.
Of course, coming out of marketing, right? Because marketing, I think so many people like sales and marketing, it's just sort of this like gray fuzzy kind of thing. And it's not, it's actually, it can be very, very technical. We can, track every, part and piece of every single process and tie direct ROI to it. And I'm just a huge systems and processes person. So anyway, I'm very, very big on recruitment workflow. So the same idea when you have a consumer and you have your sales funnel, right? And you have, that big top of funnel campaign, and then the mid funnel, the consideration, all the way down to the engagement, the contract phase, the sale phase, and then the retention and relationship phase after that. It is exactly the same kind of process that we want to put into place with your agent recruitment, right? And if you think about your agent as a client, it's a lot easier to think about, okay, how do I go from everything, from sourcing and prospecting all the way down to getting the deal done, and then actually supporting and, onboarding and supporting of that agent and that continuation of that relationship. So I have an example recruitment workflow here just for everybody for a little bit of eye candy to see, what your thoughts are or what people's thoughts are, in terms of utilizing these. Because I think a lot of people don't have a really intelligent strategic workflow in place. And when we build these, and inside of the technology that we utilize, it allows us to have a lot of insight. We can understand, how that entire process is working for our customer, where we're seeing drop off, where we're actually seeing adoption or conversion rates. We can track everything from every piece of messaging that we're putting out there across every type of channel. So it really gives us very valuable insight. And this is also something not just from a recruiting and retention standpoint, but it helps us really understand, are we the right brand? Is it the right agent? Is is the messaging and the value proposition appropriate? And it helps us to really analyze and do a lot of due diligence across the business.
Yeah, I'd like to shine a really bright light on numbers 10 and 11 that are on this list, the onboarding and the support. If I were to tell you from my experience working with firms where they typically fail, it's not on anything 1 through 9. They know who they are, they know their value proposition, they know how to recruit an agent, they're recruiting the right agents. And then the moment that the agent signs up, they hand it off to an admin. The admin has an onboarding checklist. They go through that checklist. They assign you your usernames and passwords, the key to the front door, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And you probably don't talk to the broker again for whatever. And that's one of the things where we see it always breaking, because whenever anybody decides to move from one firm to the other, they have what? Buyer's remorse, right? And at that very particular time, after they've signed their agreement, after they've gotten their usernames and passwords, what happens next is going to define the successful journey that you take with that agent forever.
I agree 100%. Let's not forget that recruiting is no different than, a broker or an agent going after the consumer. You're creating a relationship, and you're trying to, gain trust. The trust is the big factor. The biggest thing that I've always said to a lot of the broker owners I've talked to over the course of the years, and that is do what you say you're going to do. If you're going in, and I agree with you, Victor, as far as the onboarding support, if you're going to go in and you're going to create a value proposition, it's not just about commission anymore. You're going to create a value proposition as this is what we can do for you to help you increase your business, then do it. Make sure that you're following through it. And agents want that. They're willing to actually give up that little bit more if they can get that in return, because guess what? We talked about this yesterday. They're competing with some of these big teams that are out there, right? And they already have it's like you said, they're a business within a business. They already have their transaction coordinators, their buyer reps. I mean, you name it. These are the individuals that need that support and services to increase their business, to get it going more. And it's an opportunity from a broker owner standpoint for a brokerage to increase your ROI, because you can charge for that. But that's what agents want. They want that support and services.
Well, I think it's really important too to create an expectation of accountability with each agent.
Without
accountability to you, accountability to your office manager, and to truly define what that means. That means spend an hour a month talking about your business with your office manager, or quarterly reviews, or annual business plans, whatever that is. Those things have to be as important in the onboarding process. And I'll tell you, that's the most dynamic time, especially when you're onboarding agents who are coming and bringing a book of business from another company. So, you know, they're very nervous. They're trying to not have any breakage with their current deals. And the way in which you can address those things but also hold their feet to the fire on what's expected of them when they join the company is going to be planting your foot in the right direction for a long-term successful relationship.
You know, Victor, I want to go back to a point you made when you were talking about points 10 and 11, you know, the onboarding and support, and the idea that a broker, you know, creates these relationships with the agent. And then, you know, in some brokerages, then that broker kind of hands them off to an office administrator and the broker is a little outside of the picture. I don't necessarily have a problem if that is, you know, the process inside of an organization, right? That the broker is going to sort of you know, facilitate the opportunity, and then they're going to turn them over. My biggest thing is there has to be transparency about that throughout the process. The agent, when you're prospecting in those conversations, when you're having those meetings, the broker needs to be transparent and talk about the support and administrative staff in their organization, the roles of everybody, and they need to start pulling those administrative people into that conversation so that that agent prospect is beginning to foster a relationship with those staff members in conjunction with the relationship that they're having with that broker, so that there's not a cut, you know, this divide where all of a sudden the agent had this very warm, fuzzy experience coming into the organization, and all of a sudden they're dealing with an entire group of trainers and supporters that they are just meeting, and maybe the dynamics aren't quite appropriate there.
Yeah, my superpower, the person that I think of that has the greatest superhuman superpower as it relates to that is Gino Belfari from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. He somehow, when it was in Intero and then on to what he's doing right now, I mean, I don't know, he's got a few 100,000 agents that are working for him these days, but he somehow manages to maintain a personal connection with each and every one of them. And I don't know how on earth that human can do that, but he must be magical.
He must be really great at remembering names, right?
No, I get a call or a text from him every year on my birthday. He never misses. It's pretty incredible.
Well, that is system processes, right?
Yeah.
He's got calendars, he's got things that are alerting him, and it helps him stay on top of his game. And what is wonderful is, you know, we can help put those systems and processes in place, and it can feel very personalized, right? Because you're like, oh my God, he remembered me. That is so amazing. I feel so good. And, you know, and he probably has a very extensive calendar that pops up, and every day he's just bang, 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 going through, making sure he's recognizing, you know, everybody in the way that they need to be. So that kudos to him.
Yeah, well, you got to plan your work and work your plan if you want to be successful, right?
Yeah, and that actually goes to our next tip, which is investing in your agents. So, you know, the technology, the systems and processes that you utilize to run your day-to-day, your business, your CRM, you know, your automation and outreach tools, your marketing tools, CMAs, like everything. It's important in a contemporary brokerage to have a lot of these tools readily available for your agents, and not only provide them these tools, but also provide them the support and services that they need to be successful with those tools. And whether that's something that's within your organization or you're working with a third party, you know, partner, but it's really, really important that you invest into the agents, into the training, into the support of your agents. And I know, Dennis, you can definitely expand on that from your perspective.
Yeah, the comment that you made, Victor, was with regards to, you know, calendarized meetings on a consistent basis with your support staff. That applies to your agent because, you know, you talked about, you mentioned holding their feet to the fire. Sounds a little brutal, but the reality is that, you know, we are the business coach as a broker owner to the agents who are affiliated with us. It's our job to ensure that we're there to help them identify, because there's nothing better than having an extra set of eyes, right? Looking at and analyzing, you know, what you're doing in that respect, because a lot of times we get lost in the translation when we're, you know, actively out there looking for either listings or buyers or whatever it is that we're doing, even on the mortgage side. The important part is, you know, having somebody there that's able as an agent, or somebody working in a brokerage, having somebody there that I can actually meet with on a regular basis, that has that extra set of eyes to analyze, where am I spending my money? What's my return on my investment? How successful am I? What's my success rate? What are the numbers in my business? And am I going to reach my goal if I continue the way it is? And then, so there's nothing more important than having that investment in your agents as well.
Yeah, Tony Robbins has a really cool thing he does. He says, can we agree right now that you want to be more successful in your business?
Yeah.
And once he gets that answer, and everybody's going to say yes, right? The moment you get that first
money,
yes, then it's okay. Now, what are we going to do about it?
Right.
And how are we going to work together and collaborate to do it about it? It's just a really powerful, very simple, elegant way that Tony has of getting people on the right track to being more successful.
It's just sometimes, asking questions or presenting something in a way that provokes a level of thought that, or an approach that you haven't taken before. And that's actually, leads into our final tip, is know when to call in the pros. If you're a brokerage and you're struggling, whether it's with your recruitment and retention, whether it's with, staffing, whether it's with financial and developing your exit strategy, there's so many people out there. I mean, obviously our organization is there, and we would absolutely love you to contact us and work with our group of consultants and marketing minds. But, there's a lot of assistance that is out there from mentors and things as well.
I think, Dennis, your testimonial is probably the greatest one, which is, when you're running a real estate brokerage, you're running full out at high speed.
Yeah.
And if this is an area of your business that needs attention and needs to be rethought and restructured, or just simply refined, to find areas and opportunities for additional improvement, those are the things where it's always better to bring in people that have a lot of experience in this, that are highly focused on it. And they just, I know for me, when we hire outside people to come in and help us, it's always because they're going to actually drive the performance of that outcome that we're looking for as effectively as I will, because I'm busy and distracted doing 50 other things that I have to do. Yep. And I'd rather bring somebody on who's going to just take care of this for me and get my business on the right spot, work with my people to get them aligned with the goals, and then get the operation just flowing. So then I can just manage it.
Yeah, Victor, you're bang on that. That not only applies actually to the broker owner, but also applies to that broker's agent. And at the end of the day, one of the things that I'll share with you is, there are so many agents that are in this business. Right now the average agent is 50 years or slightly older than that. And we're not going to be in the business forever. The next group that equates, that comes equal to the numbers, because those are typically, close to baby boomers, or in the baby boomer generation, are the younger people that are actually coming in the business. When you leave the business, or when you've decided, I'm going to retire, what am I going to do with my brokerage? There is a tremendous opportunity, particularly from an agent perspective, is to sell your business. And there's so many times I've heard from a lot of agents out there that just kind of leave the business. They spent so many years, building this and building clienteles, and and then they just walk away. Part of this whole structure is not only helping you recognize how to increase your productivity, how to increase your ROI, whether it be the brokerage or the agent, but also is, in the end, when you decide to leave, what are you going to do with it? And so the exit strategy is just as important as building the infrastructure to build your profitability.
So we talked at the top that recruiting and retention is really a sales presentation. So Bondilyn, your group does incredible sales presentations for recruiting. Can you show us a few of those examples?
Yeah, so I have some, I'd like to call this my eye candy, but these are just some previous projects that we have completed. So this was actually a C21. This was agent recruitment and franchise sales initiative across C21 North America. And it was really a fun time. It was at the time that they were launching the new logos and brand, visual brand language for the company. And so we got to come in and be a part of that initiative. And so this is some of the fun that we had. And I'm just going to click through these and just speak briefly on each one if you guys don't mind. And then this is actually Realty One Group, North American franchise and agent recruitment initiative with them. We've worked with them for many years now, and it's a really fun organization to work with. And they have a really a sexy and fun rock star kind of brand. So we get to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more, out of the box with them. Versus an organization like United Real Estate, who actually, was struggling or trying to figure out how they really wanted to define their brand and their value proposition against some of their competitors in the space. And so with them, we were really able to take this approach with their tagline, "Find Your Freedom," and really encapsulate a bunch of broker and agent stories within the organization and make it feel very personal and very family oriented. So that was a really fun campaign program to work through. And then we've mentioned RE/MAX here previously. We've done a lot of different work with RE/MAX over the years, everything from franchise sales initiatives to national recruitment to regional and everything in between with them. This is actually a really fun referral campaign. So this is actually, Dennis, this was within your office when we launched that Refer a Friend campaign with the $100 cash rewards program. So this was a little sneak peek at that program that we created. And then I did mention at the beginning of this that we have this really fantastic recruitment strategy guide. So all of the tips, the tricks, the checklists, the questions and everything that we sort of presented through our slides today, all of that is actually in this recruitment strategy guide, plus some more. Plus we did interviews with top recruiters and brokers all around the nation. We've got Tammy Bonnell and from Exit Realty and all kinds of fantastic people who have given us tips that are inside of this guide. And so to download it, all you need to do is go to 365.agency/recruitment guide. And Michael, maybe you could actually go ahead and put that in the chat, that link as well, because then I think people can just click that link. But you can go in and download that. And then also on our 365 website, there's also a brokerage technology checklist that you can download. And that is if you're evaluating your technology or you want to, work with us in terms of looking and running a technology or financial gap analysis, it's a great checklist to download. It has a lot of the questions and due diligence that we're going to start with you at the beginning of the process. So check that out. And if you're interested in scheduling a one-on-one consultation, I know Dennis is currently welcoming consultations. You can speak directly with him, with his personal experience, and learn more about what we do inside of an organization.
Does that cost you anything, the assessment?
No, not at all. Not at all. We're more than happy to chat with you, to give you some insight, some feedback. And if it makes sense for us to proceed forward and work together, we would love to do that. If not, we can make recommendations or suggestions on what we think we should be doing.
Just slightly off topic here. I just wanted to make a note. I was actually just talking with Michael, with regards to the slides. I'm kind of stuck on Century 21. I don't know, some of our listeners out there may be experiencing the same thing. We're not advancing on the slides right now, so I'm not sure what's happening there. But
I don't know what to say on my side. I'm going through them, but
no,
maybe
you're back on. You're back on now for other goodies for you.
Well, here, let's run back real quick, because I think there were some really cool examples there. If you just, I do want people to see.
Stuck on C21, and I'm sitting there talking through everything, and nobody saw any of this goodies.
No, we had Cindy on the call, Simon, Mauricio. There was a whole bunch of people who were like, "Where's the stuff?"
Okay, so let me see. So I'm sorry about that, guys.
That's better.
Yeah. This was Realty One Group, where I was talking about getting to do some rock star recruiting with them. So a lot of fun with that. This was United Real Estate, where we really encapsulated the culture of the company and the family elements of this organization. I hope everybody's seeing these now. Yes,
you're working now. Yeah, this is great. Yeah.
RE/MAX. So everybody knows that red, white, and blue of Remax. So some work that we've done with them. And then this was the referral campaign that Denis had mentioned earlier. This is when we launched this inside of his organization. We really wanted to have a lot of fun with it. We actually broke the corporate color scheme of his organization because we really wanted to pop in front of all of his agents and their audience. And so this is just some parts of the collateral with that. And then this is that free recruitment strategy guide I was talking about. And did we get that link? I see some people asking.
Yeah, we're going to send the link out to everybody, Bondilyn's. So that'll be in the email. The email with the recording will be sent. So we'll make sure that everybody gets that. This is an outstanding piece. By all means, definitely download this. Definitely look at it. You won't be mad.
Yeah, we spent quite a bit of time, like I said, interviewing people and just, putting together all of that information. So if you've enjoyed what you've been hearing in our conversation today, I think that you'll really like that guide. And then here, if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one recruitment consultation with Denis, his email, his telephone is there. But Michael, if we have one quick question, actually, if you would like our team to reach out and schedule a one-on-one consultation either with Denis or myself or one of our consultants, just go ahead and select yes. Go ahead, select yes, and we will actually have somebody call you and schedule with you today. And then also we do offer free daily marketing tips direct to your inbox. When you go to our website, 365.agency, you can register for those. Those are free. Every morning, there'll be something waiting in your inbox for you when you're having that morning cup of coffee to inspire you.
I love those, by the way. Thank you so much for sending them to me. I get so much email and I'm pretty, I don't know. I'm pretty nasty about email, but it is one of the things that I keep and I cherish, and I appreciate hearing from you guys every day. So thank you for that. And we did have a question that came in from Lori. So her company, and this is probably a lot of the way that a lot of the conversations start with your customers. But in Lori's case, they offer 10% per closing out of the company commission of any agent who recruits another agent or a new agent. But they get very few people participating in that program. So one of the things that we always talk is about driving adoption, participation, awareness, and then reinforcing those things over time. Can you give a couple suggestions of what Lori might be able to do to make agents a little more focused on this outcome so they can enjoy this benefit and help support her at growing her business?
Well, I think probably one of the most important thing is to it's not just the incentive, it's how they go about doing it. You have to provide them the plan on the strategy and on how they actually do it. So, one of the strategies that I've given to my people in that respect is, for going back through their particular sales of the other agents that they've actually done business with in the past and recognizing who they are and striking up conversations from the agent's perspective saying, how is it over, how are you guys doing over there? Do you like with the brokers that you're working with? This is the type of thing that we have over here. That type of strategy, instead of just saying, okay, we're going to give you $100 or we're going to give you 10% or whatever the case may be. Yeah. You have to give them the plan on how to actually go about it, because most agents just, they don't, well, one, they don't know how to do it. Number one. And number two is they don't know where to start. Who do I go after? That's the structure is the most important part. Guidance.
Back to Lori's question, because if she leaves here without an answer, I'm not going to be happy. What are a couple of things that Lori can do to get agents to accept and use this offer of 10% per closing out of the company commission for recruiting?
Okay, make it easier for your agents to identify who they're going to go after. You have to get.
Does it go into your forms packet? What is it? How do you make it easier?
Well, yeah. So you lay out a plan, a structure as to what needs to be done, some ideas of how and who to go after, right? A lot of it is put into what Bondilyn uses the term all the time, playbook, and I love that term because it really is. In football, you don't just go out there, hike the ball and figure out, well, who am I going to throw it to? There's a strategic plan that you actually have. Somebody knows who's going to get the ball. So the idea here is to create that structure of, who they target and how they go about it, in terms of that. So that's going to be the key, the biggest point I would emphasize for Lori to use in this, because a lot of times, like I said, just offering 10% doesn't necessarily mean they're going to take advantage of it. Just offering them any type of monetary benefit is not necessarily going to mean they're going to take advantage of it. So having that plan, that structure in place with, a number of key points of who you're going to go after, how you go about it, what's some ideas on how to actually, bring up the conversation, that's going to be a value to that particular agent to utilize and bring
Right.
far
Well,
more.
and to take it for, you're killing me.
Your turn, Bondilyn, and I'll go last.
And the other thing is too, is you, if there's marketing collateral that you want distributed, you provide the marketing collateral. And like, for example, Dennis mentioned our playbook. We're doing a huge recruitment initiative with RE/MAX Southeast Michigan region right now. And we created tons of marketing collateral. We created playbooks. And, a week before all of these recruitment initiatives launched, we actually held meetings with all of the brokers in their region and unveiled this playbook. And every broker had the playbook. And we're like, this is exactly what the campaign looks like. This is all of the marketing collateral. This is the workflows. This is everything that's in place. This is how leads are going to be, funneled to you. This is the information that those leads are going to include for you. And this is the conversation that we want you to have. And this is how you're going to report on that conversation back. So we created very, very intelligent marketing, communication, workflows and systems and processes. So, and then got the buy-in. So all of those brokers participating in that program, if they wanted those recruitment leads, they had to sign off and buy in, not buy in. I mean, there was no cost to them, but they had to, emotionally buy in to participate.
You got to write, sign something. You're like, you're going to do this.
Do those types of programs from the agent level with these referral programs. And I think that's, Dennis, I think you're 100% spot on, where a lot of brokers, they come up with this and they're like, okay, well, obviously it's, it makes sense financially if they refer people to us. But the agent is like, oh my God, that's just one more thing I have to try to do. And really, I'm making the bulk of my money over here. Why am I can't be bothered over here. But if you do the work for them, you put it in place, you make it fun and sexy, like how I showed Dennis's campaign where we broke his color schemes. We broke all of the other content that they were putting out and engaging with their agents on. We shifted the whole look and feel of that entire campaign and made it really fun and sexy and provided all of the marketing collateral and everything that the agents needed to do to come out of the gate and be successful and help the brokers, be successful as well.
So Lori, I'll give you one other thing, which is whatever transaction management system you're using, whether it's, .loop or Instanet or whatever it is that you're using, DocuSign, SkySlope, whatever, actually put this information as a step in the closing process, and then also introduce this opportunity as a step around 15 days after the listing, after the deal closes, to have that agent go back to the agent on the other side, and whether it's the agent who did the trade with them or the office manager, schedule a follow-up 2 weeks after the trade is completed to talk to them about joining the company. So listen, we went all over on time, and but thank you so much. This is impressive. What you guys do is amazing, and I have a lot of respect for everything that you guys do. So I hope that the brokers on the call get a chance to work with you and get to learn a little bit more about the hard work that you put into each of the projects. And with that, thank you very much, everyone on RE Technology, for attending here today. We'll send you the recording. We'll send you a link to the download that has been provided here today, and along with the information on how to contact these guys if you want to have a better conversation. So thank you all very much. Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you again on the next one.
All right, bye everybody. Thanks.
Bye everybody.